Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. We have a wonderful guest today for you. His name is Bissett. He is a healing guide, founder, and owner of Amo Ni, a system which locates and removes emotional blocks and is built on a foundation of positivity to effect lasting change. Through his system, Bo helps people find the repetitive self-sabotaging behaviors which prevent them from living their life to its full potential. Bo has his own powerful story of healing, recovering, and eradicating disempowering emotions ruling his life. He was able to put it all together, including how to help others do the same after cycling across America. He is also the author of the Amo Ni series, which include Amo Abundance, the self-awareness solution to abundance, and Amo Form, the self-awareness solution to addiction. Bo, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Cheryl, and thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
Oh, you're welcome. Your story just fascinates me, and you've done an awful lot with your life in a lot of different ways, but especially with the story of it sounds like it was self-healing, really.
Oh, of course. I mean, I think that's kind of the only healing that there is.
You know, I have to agree with you because I think that when you rely on somebody else to help you find your way, I mean, it's nice to have somebody who can help guide you, but I know if you're looking for somebody else to heal you or fix you, it just really doesn't stick. But when you can find that inner strength and inner peace to be able to find your own way, that's when true healing happens, is what
I totally agree.
Mm.
And the unfortunate thing is like we've been conditioned that way, right? I mean, through modern medicine, and I don't like bashing people or industries or anything like that, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for modern medicine. But having said that, the pharmaceutical industry has done a really good job marketing their message, and in a way they've taken away our power, and they put that power in a pill or in a shot or in a concoction to make us believe that we need that to heal, right? Quite often, like the placebo is more effective than the actual drugs that they put out. And so yeah, if you look at the way that we actually go about the process of going to the doctor, getting medicine and healing, it's just we go to a doctor who gives us a permission slip to go to another doctor who then gives us the vehicle that we're going to use to heal. So all our hope is in this tiny pill, which it should be in us and not in that exterior thing. So
yeah, I love the way that you use that word empowerment, because that's actually what happens when we're given this pill or this is the way, we're gonna fix you. It completely takes away our own power and gives it to somebody else in the form of this is the person who is the authority figure. This is the device that's going to be the healing potential or power. And it just doesn't always work that way. And I've got several nightmare stories about myself, my own experiences with the medical profession, which I won't go into right now, but it really boggles my mind because I'm a medical professional myself. I mean, I have two medical careers, respiratory therapy and physical therapy. So it was very disappointing and very frustrating, but a very powerful lesson to learn that the answer really lies within me, not them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I love the way you put that. Every answer that we're looking for is within us. So.
Well, so start telling us your story and how you finally found that healing power and found your own path, because I'm kind of guessing that it was a little bit turbulent. It probably wasn't a nice straight, straight
I don't
shot.
know. I don't know anyone's path who's like is straight and narrow. Like I saw this thing on this post on Facebook or one of the social media sites one time, and it was like people's ideal or what people think of success. And it was a line. It started from, it started from here and it went up like that, right? And then it was like, what actual success looks like. And it was this line and went, just squiggled all over. And then it finally ended up, at a higher point, a more progressive higher point. So yeah, that's what all our journeys look like.
I remember seeing that. It was several years ago, and it just made me laugh because I love that. It's how many times have we fallen on our face? It's like, hey, look, I think I'm getting somewhere. And it's like, not so fast. You get the rug pulled out from underneath you. It's like, okay, but you learn every time you have those crashes or those, those considered failures really aren't failures. They're just opportunities to learn and reboot.
Yeah, my problem was that I didn't take the opportunity to learn. I just kept running into the wall like over and over and over again. And like it finally took my body breaking down and I was with my aunt and uncle at the time when I finally like snapped out of it. I was in my late 30s and my aunt got breast cancer while I was staying with her and my uncle to like get back on my feet, again. And I was finally like, dude, like, here's two individuals who I really looked up to, my aunt and uncle, very successful, wonderful people. And my aunt had got breast cancer. And I was just like, get it together, man. Like you've got like, and I use them as like inspiration to, to pull myself out of it. And but before that point, it was just nonstop. I mean, I started binge drinking in my early teens, started getting in trouble. When I was 19, I got in a car accident where I nearly killed myself. In fact, the cop on the scene, I was drunk driving. The cop on the scene saw me get in the accident. I flew by him going like 100 miles an hour, ran off the road, rolled the car when I swerved back over the road, rolled through a telephone pole. And then he saw it and he was just like, you guys just take your time. He called the emergency services. And they showed up and I was actually alive. And
wow.
Yeah. Somewhere between there and the hospital, I had an image of my dead grandfather who came and, who visited me and told me to go back. There wasn't my time. And for the next 20 years, I regretted that decision. I did not want to be here. And I tried over and over and over again to end it. Mostly through like my problems with addiction. Alcohol. 2 years later, after that accident, I got off work. I was still in university. I got off work, went to a cake party, left there, to go get a quick shower, ran through an intersection on my skateboard and got hit by a car again.
Oh.
Yeah, I know, right? And then and then I graduated. I got a good job, started making some good money, and then I reignited my love affair with cocaine. And at that time, I was like, I told you about this earlier. I was like, I can't tell my family like I've done it again. So I like gave everything away that I own. I remember going to my brother took me to the airport. I gave him the keys to my car and I was like, here, it's yours, man. Do whatever you want with it. And I just left.
Wow. So your brother obviously knew you were leaving, but your parents didn't. Nobody else in the family did.
No.
And then did your brother?
No, they knew I was leaving. No, yeah, they knew I was leaving. I was just like, I told my dad, I was like, I'm just gonna, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing in my life. I'm just gonna go see. And they were like, well, what are you doing? I was like, well, I had a friend in London who had been in the military and then he got out and he was in the private sector. So I was like, I'm gonna go visit him. And then, he said that, he knows some people, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, well, everybody's like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I'm good. I acted like I had it together, but I hadn't. No, I was doing cocaine on like days before I left, right?
Wow, they must have been worried sick with you being
Oh,
that
yeah.
far away.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you were how old at this point?
I was like 27, I think.
Mhm.
So
Okay, so did that obviously turn out to be a good decision? Because you're here at least to talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah. Well, I mean, I got out, I never did cocaine again. But I did a lot worse. But I got it, I got away, and it kind of shook me a little bit, and it did do some waking up. I left there, and I ended up in London. Then I ended in the Czech Republic. I found a course, a institution there was doing teaching English,
Mhm.
and they were certifying you to teach English overseas. So I went there and I took this course, and then I did some teaching around Prague for a few months, and then I found this job in Taiwan. One of the guys that was in the course with me, he was like, "Hey, let's go to Taiwan." I was like, "Don't know where that is, but sure, sounds." No. I mean, he told me, he was like, "Yeah, it's in the Pacific Ocean. It's this little island." I'm like, "Island, let's go." So we ended up in Taiwan, and like the funny thing is, the first day I got here, like we came into like one of the main cities on the West Coast, like on Taiwan, like all the development is on the West Coast because the typhoons, which is basically like a hurricane, we have the same typhoon season as like a hurricane season back home.
Mhm.
And so when the typhoons come, like, yeah, they're pretty strong. And so like, yeah, all the development, all the big cities are on the West Coast because there's a huge mountain range down in the middle of the country that protects the West
Mhm.
Coast. So we ended up in the city. We got here at night, and we woke up the next morning, and I'm like walking around the city. I'm like, and the guy that I came with was like, he's like, "Dude, don't leave." And I was like, "Dude, I'm going back to Prague, man. We just left like one of the most beautiful places that I've ever seen in my life, and like, nah, I'm not doing this." And he's like, "Don't leave, don't." I was like, "All right, I'll stick with you until you get a job, and like, help you out until you need, but then I'm leaving." The funny thing is, like a year later, he left, and then I ended up staying. So
So
yeah,
obviously it either grew on you or it had some kind of hidden charm that you didn't see at
yeah. Well,
first.
Taiwan is really, that's the thing, the hidden charm, right? So when I got here 20 years ago, it was like, we ended up in one of the big cities, like in the middle of the country. So,
Mhm.
and it was just for me. I don't like New York. Like I don't like cities, period. So yeah, it was just a city where people are speaking Chinese, and like things are like it's different going to Europe, right? Europe,
Mhm.
we're still used to like a lot of the foods are just richer and all more, but here like everything is completely flip-flop different, so it's just like what. No, I don't know. But I got a scooter, and as soon as I did, like I started exploring the getting out of the city, and that's when I
Mhm.
found the mountains, and that's when I fell in love. So
Okay. Now, so that brings me to another question, because I know that with your healing path, you really explored a lot of Eastern medicine type of techniques and
hmm
methods, and still use that today.
hmm
So was that where you found it or discovered it in the mountains when you were in Taiwan, or?
that's where I rediscovered my love for the outdoors.
Okay.
Because up until that point, like I just spent all my time in like bars, and and just really, yeah, just forgetting how to enjoy life. And so when I discovered the outdoors again, that was a really big, that was a big turning point for me. So, but yeah, it wasn't until years later that I really started, looking to heal.
Mhm.
The because when I got out of the city, then I got on a bicycle and I started riding a lot, and I cycled around Taiwan a few times. And then a few years after that, a friend of mine was getting married, and who I'd met in Taiwan. He moved to Thailand, so he
Mhm.
was getting married. And he's like, "Come," he invited me to the wedding, and I was like, "Sure." And I was teaching English, so I had a month off in the summer. So I was like, "What am I gonna do for a month? And you're getting married, like I'm gonna be there for a few days." I was like, I might just like cycle there. So I flew into Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam and rode through Vietnam, Cambodia, and through
Wow.
Thailand. Showed up his wedding a few days, beforehand, and like, got a suit, and in Thailand, and then then I rode back through Taiwan into Cambodia, and got my flight back to Taiwan. So
What was that like cycling through Vietnam? I would imagine that would have been just
it was
incredible in
amazing.
so many ways.
It was amazing. The first part of the trip was because I flew into Ho Chi Minh City, and I had never, I'd been to Hong Kong, but I don't know, Hong Kong's just it's a lot different. I don't know if you've ever been to Ho Chi Minh. Have you seen like images of Ho Chi Minh City like in pretty much any time during the day? There's like millions upon millions of scooters and motorbikes just like going around these roundabouts and like just spider webbing through the city, and it is just insane. So when I got there, I got to the airport and I put my bicycle together in the airport, and then just like rode right out of the airport, threw my saddlebags on, and when I first hit the city streets, I was like, oh my God, dude, get me out of here. It was like, it's just like not bumper to bumper, but handlebar to handlebar, and just people just like
Oh,
weaving in and out in front of me. And I was like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I'm freaking out. And I think, I think the iPhone had just come out, but like I didn't have an iPhone. I just had one of the regular Nokia
right.
phones, right? So I had a compass and a map. I'd printed a map and to get out of the city. And then I knew I wanted to go west, right? So I was like, I'll just follow the sun.
Hmm.
And that's pretty much how I, got to Thailand. I just kept following, going west, and then I was like, I want to ride the coast. So I'd stop in these little internet cafes and get directions and stuff like that. And then, but it was a really, really amazing, just beautiful. I mean, because then you could stay in these little guest houses, which were nice. I mean,
Hmm.
nice little places. I mean, you could stay there for like dollars. I mean, like $3 to $5 a night, and just it's beautiful.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It cracks me up just the thought of riding a bike through those streets like you described it, because anytime I see that on TV, or a
uh,
commercial or something, I was like, oh, I just get the
yeah.
heebie-jeebies. It's like I got to go outside. I just get claustrophobic just looking at it. So I couldn't imagine, when I was skiing, I couldn't stand to have anybody coming near me on the slopes. It's like,
uh,
don't come close. Give me my space. So yeah,
uh,
that I think would have been a real challenge.
when I first moved there, like this was years later, I moved to Ho Chi Minh City, and I got there, and I was actually working for a dive shop, like a scuba diving shop.
Uh-huh.
I was a dive instructor, and I was doing like we were doing pool training. Like
Hmm.
it's a beautiful outdoor place anyway. And so I got there, and one of the guys that I was teaching with, he's from England, and he had been there for a while. And so he was just taking me around, and then we went into the city one day, and we were just walking around, and he crossed the street, and like the way you do it is like you just walk through like this, like just a school, like a literal school of motorbikes, just going all over the place. And the way like it's literally like going through a school of fish. Like they just go around you, like things open up, and you just like. So he gets to the other side and he looks around, and I'm still standing on the corner. And he's like waving at me. He's like, come on, yelling at me.
No.
I'm just sitting there shaking my head like, mm-mm, mm-mm. He's like, dude, just walk, and nobody will hit you. And like I finally, I think there's a Indiana Jones, The Last Crusade with Sean Connery. Is the last Indiana, well, not the last one, but the one with Sean Connery. And like he has to, when he finds the cup of Christ, he has to like his last challenge is like to walk across this like invisible chasm. It's like a leap of faith, right?
Right, right.
And like, yeah, it was my first step. I was just like, oh, all right, here I go. I'm just gonna like trust in whatever. And yeah, I mean,
God.
obviously I made it. So
Yeah, obviously you made it, but that is really a test of faith. And the funny thing is, once you take that first few steps, it's like you're at the point of no return.
Yeah, I was just surrounded by, and it was just, but they just really do. They just open up right around you, and you just like, but then
Wow.
they don't drive. And it's not like they're driving fast, right?
Well,
I
it
mean,
doesn't matter. It doesn't
yeah,
take,
exactly. I mean, you could, if once you're in that, menagerie of motorbikes, you could fall over and like not get hurt. I mean, it's not, you might get scraped up a little bit, but you wouldn't break anything.
I had
But
to write that down because I love it.
what's it? What's
The
that?
menagerie of motorbikes. I mean, that's almost like a bumper sticker or a t-shirt. That's fantastic. Okay, so you made it through what was that, Thailand or whatever, crossing the streets, and
Yeah.
so you never got hit by a motorbike.
Yeah.
So what happened from that point on? Because eventually you did start studying the Eastern medicine techniques or the Eastern way of healing, which is just so incredibly powerful. And then you eventually ended up back in the States so you could cycle across America. So how did all this happen and come about?
Well, I bounced around after Vietnam. I moved to Spain. I moved back to Taiwan. I moved back to Vietnam. I moved back to Taiwan. Anyway, so I was in Ho Chi Minh again, and I hit rock bottom. I was just drinking profusely. I was snorting heroin. I was just doing ecstasy left and right. I just completely just trying my hardest to like just cripple myself. I lost a business that I was working on. I lost a job that I was working on to support that business. I lost a girl that I was, with at the time. I lost just everything. And I called my brother and I was like, dude, I've never been this low before. And I've been low. I was passing out in the gutters in a third world country. I'm like, just completely just crushing myself. And my brother was like, get back, man, come out, we got you. And so I got back to America and I was like, what did I just do? Why did I just, why did I get that, why did I ruin all these opportunities that I had? So I was like, how am I going to get myself out of this? So I got a bicycle. I started a website or a blog, and I was like, I'll just blog my way across America and I'll like be a travel writer. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I started on Atlantic Beach, North Carolina, and just rode my bike all the way across. And I blogged and, kept a journal on my website and tried to build that into something. And the problem is it only took me, well, some people can do it in about a week. It took me 6 months because I didn't go straight across. I just went up and down and all around, but still it only took me 6 months. And like, you can't start a business in 6 months. So, but I got to the other side and I chalked that up as like, that was my goal, to get myself up and running and start, this travel writing business. And it didn't happen. So there's just another tick marks in the box of failure that I put on myself. And that's when my aunt and uncle at the time, they were like, come back and, we'll help you get on your feet. You can, do whatever you want. You can save money. You can, however you want to do it. We got your back. And so, yeah, I moved with my aunt and uncle. And that's when, my aunt got cancer. And that's when I started turning it around. And my first thing, go ahead.
Okay. So I just have like 2 questions. And the first one was there a specific trigger that started this downhill spiral that you could pinpoint, or did it just like happen?
Well, I know that like when I was a kid, I was like really angry. And through this work that I do now, I figured out that a lot of that was not a lot. Some of that was I was the firstborn, and then when my brother came along, he was born 2.5 years after me, and then after that, like, I was, the firstborn. I had all the attention, and then my brother came, and he stole my thunder, right? And so, I felt lonely after my brother was born, and I didn't like my brother. I feel like he stole that from me. So I was angry kid. A lot of the anger started manifesting at a young age. I broke my ankle several times. When I was 12, my parents sat the 2 of us down and told us they were getting in a divorce. And My first reaction was I jumped up, ran out of the room, ran out of the house, and like ran through the neighborhood. I didn't come back until late that night when I was hungry because I didn't know what else to do, right? I was 12 years old and I was like, I'm hungry, I gotta go home. And that was my de facto reaction after that, to run. Run. Anytime I felt uncomfortable, anytime I felt anxious, I would either use drugs or alcohol, or I would just physically run. I would just get out and some people, run down the street. Some people move cities. Like I moved countries, and I did it over and over and over. And just like I would start from ground zero and just punish myself over and over. And so, yeah, that's where that's where a lot of that came from. And I don't want to blame my parents. It's just something that happened. It was my reaction to what happened, so
this is just something that I've been picking up on ever since we first started talking. Did you always have a sense of humor?
Yeah, I think so.
Because I mean, even when you're talking about things that are pretty dark, I mean, you still kind of see a little bit of the humor in it, that it's or irony or something that.
Yeah, I used to be a lot more cynical, and that cynicism was actually that cynicism is very toxic.
Yeah.
And now I look back at it and I like, because I attached a lot of there was a lot of me attached to these things, like it was a victim, me playing victim, like that happened to me, so I did this, and my way of kind of lightening up a little bit was like throwing some humor in there. But but now there's no attachment. Like I almost killed myself in an accident, multiple times. But I have no attachment to that, right? My parents divorced, like whatever, something happened, but I don't this doesn't define who I am. It used to define how I reacted, but it doesn't define who I am right now.
And so then I want you to go into how you came to that point where you could be emotionally, I don't want to say detached, but understanding your emotions and the reactions that you were having to some of these things. But the other thing I wanted to mention too was how you biked across the United States in 1 week. I mean, in 6 months.
Yeah, 6 months.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you wanted to do it in 1 week, but 6 months. And when you got to the other side, and it was like, oh, great. Yeah, I didn't do this. I didn't start a business. And, check the box. That was another failure. But it was like, what an accomplishment to be able to bike across the continent.
I didn't see it that way though, right? A lot of other people were like, what? Whoa, man, you cycle across America. I was like, yeah, but so what? That wasn't my intention, right?
Yeah.
But it's not I wanted, did that for a reason. I didn't do that for because at that point, I'd done a lot of stuff. I've been, done travel the world. I'd, done really, what a lot of people would consider, really cool and amazing things. And I would just, I wasn't looking for another story. I did that to, for something that I wanted, and it didn't materialize. And what I saw that did not materialize was what I focused on. And that was just, like I said, that was another tick box and failure. And I was like, oh, why? I didn't do it again. And that's how a lot of us do things. We look at the things that that we're not accomplishing, and then we just use that to build a story of how we are, right? Oh, I failed at this, so I'm a failure, right? And so when you buy a mutual fund, they give you prospectus and it says past performance is no guarantee of future returns. But a lot of the times we use that past performance to define who we are, right? And so that sets the stage for who we are today, and then what we become in the future, because we hang on to those failures, we hang on to those addictions, we hang on to the things that we think define us, when they aren't. They're just things that happened in the past. And so,
and those are the self-sabotaging behaviors, hanging on to those patterns. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So when when I was with my aunt and uncle, I was really I was like, I was drinking so much, and then I was still working, but I was drinking just like a fish. I was doing a lot of I started out, I was doing a lot of handyman stuff, or neighborhood and stuff like that. And which gave me a lot of time which still gave me time to drink because I was, painting and doing stuff in people's houses and stuff like that. And but yeah, my first thing was meditation, and I really looked into and then I started reading like the I Ching book, and yeah, meditation, and like I was doing everything that I could do to get myself right in the head. And it was always like one step forward. I didn't feel like I was taking two steps forward. It was always like one step forward, one step back, one step forward, one step back. And I felt like I almost felt like I was in this sadistic dance where like the devil was just like, or whatever entity was just like puppeting me, right? Um, and I saved up. I would say I saved up some money, and I was like, I don't want to be in America. I like Asia. I want to move back, and so I moved back to Da Nang, Vietnam, and that didn't work out. I was still self-sabotaging. By that point I was stopped drinking. There's no more. There's no more of that. But I was still manifesting. I was manifesting sickness, and I was getting sick all the time. I was getting like food poisoning like monthly. I know, right? And then I got dengue fever in Vietnam, and it was just like one thing after another, and I was just like, and I was always stuck in this, why me, and it was just, and once you're in that cycle, it's just more, that's all you're going to manifest is more of the same, right? And I ended up, I left there, and I was like, all right, I'm going back to Taiwan. I had this pull to come back. And 2 months into me getting here, I met the woman who's now my wife, and she was going through her own struggle, and we pulled each other through it. And that was our relationship helped me share this journey with somebody else. And it was like it was really the magnet that I needed to help pull me out of it. As good as we were together, like the first day we met, I told her I was going to marry her. And like I was, 40s, I don't know, 40 some years old when we met. Yeah, 40. Yeah, I was 41. I don't know. Anyway, I'd never been married in my life, just single, bounced around. And so when I first saw her, I was like, wow, you're my wife. So
Wow. Oh, that gave me chills.
so but as good as we were together, like, in the good times, like we had some brutal like arguments and stuff like that. And they're just really, because she was just starting to go through her stuff too. And a few years in, like the last big argument we had, it was like, all right, either we sort this out, or like, we gotta split up. Like we cannot keep doing this. It is as wonderful as it is. These arguments are horrible. And so a Buddhist friend introduced us to this individual that she went through monk school with, who was training people in what's called the spiral. And it was a program developed by an Australian guy. And so I was like, I'd do anything. I've read hundreds of books. I've spent thousands of dollars on courses. I've done I've done Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. I've done Tony Robbins' work. I've like there nothing has worked. Like I have not moved the needle. I'm no more financially secure than I was, when I started. I'm no more relationship wise. Our relationship's still on the rocks, right? Physically, like my body, I was still getting sick and just like self-sabotage. I was like, nothing I has done has worked, right? I am not moving forward. So like, I need something. And so the first session that I had with this guy was like, bam, just completely snapped everything. I cried for hours and hours after our first session. And I mean, I had been through, like I said, I've been through, so I tried everything and nothing worked. And this finally like got to the bottom of my issues, which are our emotions. My emotions are the foundation. Our emotions are the foundation for how we experience life on earth. they dictate the responses that we have, and they are the responses that we have, and they dictate the other behaviors, the things that we say, the things that we do, the things that we think, the things that we feel, the energy that we give off, are all based on our emotions that we programmed as a kid or as children, right? And then, the funny thing is, like, as soon as not long after we're conceived, the subconscious comes online and it starts, embodying emotion. The word embody means we actually anchor emotions physically into our body. The first book that I read, one of the first scientific books I read when I started turning things around, was called The Molecules of Emotion. And it's a book by a female doctor and her journey through medicine. But like one of the big things that caught my attention was like emotions affect us on a molecular level. And when I realized that, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to connect those dots, but that's my thing. I'm pretty sure like that's how I'm going to heal. And it wasn't until like years later when I went through the spiral that like, boom, it started clicking. And yeah, I mean, that was it. And so I went through this process with the intention of healing my relationship with my wife. And what's the other thing? Oh, like my addiction. And I got through this, and first of all, like it, not only did I get rid of the emotions, but it like transformed me on a physical level. So like I'm about 175 pounds, about 5'9", 5'10", somewhere like that. And during this process, I lost 20 pounds. I went down to 155. And I'm not somebody that should lose 20 pounds. I'm not somebody that should lose like, a couple of pounds. So I was always been fairly trim. And it was through that I realized, like, those emotions that I had embodied were actually anchored to physical matter. And as I was going through this process, I was shedding that. As the emotions left, I was also shedding the physical matter that they were attached to.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got through, and then I talked to the person that helped me through this, and I was like, we've eradicated these emotions that I had anchored, to all of these things, addiction being the one of them. One of my biggest hangups, I was like, have you ever helped somebody that's been through, have you ever helped somebody through this and then they've been able to drink again, somebody that had addiction issues? And they're like, no, but I mean, theoretically that should work, but I wouldn't recommend it. And I was like, well, I'm gonna try it. So so I did, I waited a few months, and then I was like, I just really, I feel like that's it. I should be able to do it. So I had around Christmas, we had a Christmas party in the neighborhood. And so I had a glass of wine, and I was like, wow, I just had one glass of wine. That was cool. I've never done that before in my life. It was either 1 or 20, right? It's one or blackout. And so the next weekend I was like, yeah, I'll have another glass of wine. So I had 2. And then the next weekend I had 3. And then the next weekend I had like a bottle. And I was like, whoa. That didn't work. So I took the muscle testing, the meridian release points that I had learned through this work. And then I just went deeper, and I found that, we anchor these emotions on a physical level, on an energetic level, on an emotional level. And I ended up finding like the roots for the addiction. I found issues that were causing my wife and I to have these big blow up arguments. I started that the spiral really changed my life, right? But it wasn't until I took this work and went further on my own and really like started going inward on my own that I was able to just like completely like go in and just, it's kind of like I don't know, like being a mechanic, right? And just opening up the hood of a car and being like, all right, engine out. I don't even know what the parts of cars are called. I don't like carburetor or whatever. It's like, yeah, right. Just like pulling everything out and then just being like, okay, and examining everything, cleaning everything up, and then put it back in, right? And so that's what I did. And I'm happy to say that at this point in my life, like there's a beer in the refrigerator right now. It's been there for a couple months. And I had a beer a few months ago, like after a long day, a long hot day in the garden. And I
Mhm.
had one beer. And there's a beer there now that's just sitting there. And it's just, every once in a while I look at it, I'm like, I'm on that. And then I'm like, nah, I'm good. And so yeah, that is and then my wife and my relationship with my wife is just off the charts. I mean, and I'm helping other people, go through, I'm guiding people through this work, and it's
Mhm.
just, yeah, my life is like completely different. It's amazing. My wife and I live on the side of a mountain overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It's like,
Wow.
yeah, it's just like life is just amazing. So
So 20 years ago, if you could have seen yourself today where you are, with your entire life, with your relationship with your wife, with your healing journey,
mm,
could you ever have imagined that you would be here?
no way. I didn't think I was worthy. So that was one of the biggest emotions or biggest things that we uncovered, right? My feeling of unworthiness, right?
Mhm.
You know, I when my brother was born, then I decided that I put I decided that, or my emotion was that he was worthy and I wasn't, right? And I
Mhm.
was like, and I pulled back, and then that was my fault. Those were emotions, those are reactions that that I had that were my fault. And so, but that not tainted, but
Yeah.
that molded the way that I started experiencing life. And see, the problem is with so many of us is that there's a small child running the show,
Mhm.
decades later. So the embodied, the emotional trauma that you experience. And when I say trauma, right, most people think when you hear trauma, they think car accident, PTSD from war, or like, I don't know, getting shot, getting raped. But like,
Yeah.
a trauma as a kid can be like a butterfly landing on your shoulder and like freaking you out. It can be
Yeah.
you being in the supermarket and reaching for a candy bar and your mom being like, you shouldn't even have to yell at you, right? You can just get that, that cold stare from your mom, like, I'm gonna, that's it, right? And boom, trauma is like, so society does not get to define trauma. The individual who experiences it defines trauma, and it can be like I said, it can be an energy, it can be a look, it can be a word, it can be it can be anything.
Mhm. And just to be fair, going back to what you said about, that you didn't feel worthy because your brother came along, your little brother, and the way you were processing it and everything. Just to be fair, you were only 2.5 years old.
I know, right? Exactly.
So how
So and
do
that's
you
the thing.
process? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like and it's not does that processing, that embodiment starts even in the womb. Like
Right.
when we're in our mother's womb, like we're starting to take in the outside world, because
Hmm.
we take that in through the food that she gives us, and also the energy, the emotions that our moms feel. Our emotions are energy. Everything in the world is energy. The computer you and I are talking on, our voices that are coming
Hmm.
across, through the system, like every single thing is energy. And if your mom feels anger, like the baby feels anger. If your mom feels happy, the baby feels happy. Like, and if there's an argument that your mom and your pregnant mother has on that, with someone else, who's
Hmm.
in the exterior world while you're still in the womb, like that, you pick up on that energy. Like and when we're children, like we're constantly, the subconscious is like, almost like a machine gun in reverse, just like,
Hmm.
sucking everything in, just like pulling everything in, all the reactions, just to make sense of the world, to build the picture that it boxes us into, and and creates that world that we are more or less like forced to live in based
Hmm.
on those embodied emotions.
I just, I'm going to segue, get a little tangential on you right now,
No
because
problem.
I have four sisters.
Uh-huh.
So I have two older sisters, and there were three of us born in 4 years. So it was like
Wow.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a lot of stuff there. And then I have another sister who's 5 years younger than me, and then another one who's 9 years younger than me. When I was 4 years old, it's probably about four and a half. A car came through our living room window.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, it's a really long story. Nobody got hurt except for, of course, the living room was trashed, and
Right.
the guy's car wasn't so great. No one was in the car. It was actually a neighbor's car who had parked. He lived on the hill above us. And when he parked his car and went to open up the garage door, back then they didn't have the automatic garage door openers. Well, he just got out of the car. He hadn't had his emergency brake on. So as
Oh,
he
wow.
the car just went like across his yard, across the street, kept bouncing and went flying through our living room window. So it actually sounded like the house was blowing up, was exploding. My father wasn't home. Well, I didn't know
Whoa.
it at the time. None of us knew, but my mother was probably at that point about 5 months pregnant. So, everything turned out okay. Eventually, about maybe 4 months later, 3 months later, something, we were at a church picnic. So we were at this amusement park, and long story, I almost fell out of a roller coaster. I was
Whoa.
sitting with my oldest sister, who was much, much bigger than me. And once we started, we were strapped in, everything. But once we got to the end, there were a series of bumps. We hit the first bump and I flew out and landed halfway out of the car. My sister is screaming. I'm screaming. She's frantically trying to pull me back in. When we hit the second bump, I went up higher and even further. And all I could remember was seeing my mother below us, who was 7 or 8 months pregnant at the time, same sister, with the
Right.
same sister. And she's running with her arms outstretched as if she was going to catch me.
Right.
When I fell, and I'm like, God, I've never seen the woman run in my entire life, and I've never seen her catch anything. This is not going to have a good ending. But it wasn't until, and it obviously turned out fine. I was fine. I wasn't quite as traumatized as my mother and my sister. I mean, to the day my mom died, she still got a funny shade of green anytime we talked about it. And my sister still gets nauseous, and it's like, I can't even talk about it. But if it weren't for her, I wouldn't be here. But anyhow,
Exactly.
all five of us are very high strung, and
Right.
we wear it with pride. But the fourth sister, the one who's 5 years younger than me, can be a little histrionic. And I can say that because she's probably never going to listen to this. And I always wondered, like, God, and it wasn't until recently that I had one of those mental head smacking moments. Well, no wonder, because I never thought in the terms of how anything that your mom experiences, any emotion, anything, of course, it's affecting the fetus. Of course, it's
Mm.
going through the bloodstream, all of those stress hormones. So those two incredible traumas,
Mm.
that my mom experienced in a short period of time,
Oh, yeah.
no wonder why my sister's a little histrionic. And so that makes me understand her a little bit better.
Uh-huh.
And like,
Exactly.
I'm glad I wasn't the one in the womb at the time.
I know, right?
So anyhow, I just had to tell that little story.
Wow. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go on to the author. You are now a published author, and I said in the introduction that it is an Amo Ni series. We got to talk about what Amo Ni means first. But you've
Okay.
got that series, and so you've got 2 books in the series, which tells me that there's going to be more books on the way.
Yeah. Yeah, there are. I published them, and then having talking to recently to market my business and market Amo Ni, what I'm doing. I actually unpublished them, and they're still available, but they're available through the coursework that I teach.
Okay.
So yeah, they're still there. Yeah, amo in Spanish means I love, and ni in Chinese means you. So together they literally translate, amo ni literally translates into I love you. And the thing is, like, when I first started, the very first book that I read when I first started this journey, when I after my aunt got cancer, and like I just stopped drinking cold turkey right then and there, I realized that I needed to make some moves, and so I started reading profusely. And the first book was Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. And I remember I read that book, and it was about this Silicon Valley dude who was going through like massive amounts of depression, and the only thing that worked for him was just like repeating, I love you. right? And just looking in the mirror and saying, I love you. And I was like, all right, I'll try that. So I got like a sticky note. I put it on the bathroom mirror. And like every time I walked into the restroom, I looked at the mirror and I said, I love you. And when I first started doing that, I was just like, I was disgusted. I was like, I don't love you. Like, I don't love myself. It didn't work. It was just, they were empty words, right? And then, but then years later, after I've gone through what I've gone through, and I've healed the emotions that were keeping me from self-sabotaging, that were keeping me self-sabotaging, the ones that were keeping me from achieving the things that I have wanted to achieve in life, for me to be happy. I can now look in the mirror and like definitively tell that dude in the mirror, like, I love you. You're awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. And I love to hear it.
Thank you so much. But yeah, so that's the thing is, like, when I take people through this work, I want them to say the same thing. I want them to have the same epiphany. And in fact, like, I guarantee people that epiphany. And that's part of what I do. Like, if I have a I love you guarantee. Like, if you don't experience, that level of transformation, then you don't pay anything. So, and the work that go ahead.
Go ahead. No, because I want to hear about the work that you do. I want to hear about your courses. And so I want you to tell us a little bit more about that in detail.
Yeah,
however, there's something that just really resonated with me and caught my eye the very first time I looked at your profile. And then I see it every now and again, because I told you I do stalk people online. So I stalked you on your website and all that kind of stuff. The hashtag meditation takes too long. And that really just hit a chord with me, because I'm a person who can't meditate. I can't do the traditional meditation thing, but I can do it in other venues. I can go outside and just sit in the grass, and other ways, moving through meditation or meditation through movement, that type of thing I can do. But when I saw that meditation takes too long, I just started to crack up. So if you could just elaborate on that a little bit, and then move into your courses and tell us about those.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, like, meditation, like, works, but it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't have to be like sitting cross-legged, in a cave or on a pillow or whatever, it doesn't have to be that way. Some people can meditate through gardening. Some people can meditate through crocheting. Some people can meditate through playing sports, it's just, finding that quiet place, and and enjoying that quiet place, right? And for me, meditation is healing. The thing is, like, it's basically like you just shutting off, right? And you just shutting down the voices, and, which is good for grounding and good for, just connecting. But as far as like healing, like, yeah, it takes people decades. Like, I don't have decades. Like, I want to heal now, right? And this work that I do now, which is built on top of the spiral work that I told you about earlier, it's like searching. I hate to say destroy, but it's like search and remove. Like, we use muscle testing, self-muscle testing, which is like one of the most profound things I've ever discovered, because it puts you in direct contact with your body. It opens up the communication necessary for conscious you to talk to subconscious you and find the emotions that you program. And then, using these other tools, the meridian chart, the Amo breath, the neuro-linguistic program, all of that together is like, boom, you can heal yourself. And it's just, and it takes no time at all. Now, you can find, I can find emotions within seconds. I can find, using muscle tests, I can find the age that it happened in seconds. Then we go in and we connect with that emotion. We connect with the experience. And then, we do the Amo breath within seconds, and then, at the end of each of our sessions, we use neuro-linguistic programming to like magnetize the future, and like, and grease the wheels of intention, and send, the individual further down the path of their hopes and dreams. And that happens in seconds, and like, just meditation is great for grounding, great for connecting, but like, for healing, I think, yeah, like I said, you said with a hashtag, right? It's like,
Mhm.
it takes too long.
Mhm.
I want to be
Okay.
enjoying life.
I know. It's like I want to do this, and especially I'm more of an action type of oriented person. It's like, okay,
Mhm.
what's the plan? Let's take the action, and to just sit there and breathe doesn't
Yeah.
seem like I'm doing enough action. But
Right.
yeah, so thank you for going into that a little bit deeper, because I just cracked up and I thought, yeah, this guy's going to be perfect for the show. So now tell us about your courses.
Okay. So I packaged, like, I published everything. I published the Amo Form, I published the Amo Abundance. I put together another system for pain called Amo
Mm,
Movement, another one called Amo Evolution. And yeah, I talked to somebody who's helping me with some business decisions. It was like, man, you put your, like, you giving away stuff. Like, are you trying to make money, or are you trying to do a charity? And I was like,
yeah.
well, I mean, I want to help people. And it's like, well, to help people, you got to make money, right? And I was like,
Hmm.
yeah, I guess you're right. So yeah, so what each of those courses are inside of what I teach now. And so what I do is I see myself as a guide. We talked about healing earlier, right? It's
Hmm.
healing is your responsibility.
Hmm.
I am a healer, but I am my own healer, right? You're a healer, but you're your own healer. I use the work that I do now, the muscle testing, the meridian chart, the breathing, the NLP to help individual heal, to guide them. But the thing is, like, when I'm doing this work, I'll self muscle test for the individual, and I'll find the emotions when they happen, and like all the connections. But they connect the dots. They connect with the emotion in their body. They use release points on their body that correspond to the meridians where we find the emotions. They do the breathing, and then they do the visualization, and for when we use neuro linguistic programming, and like they heal, right? And I'm just showing them how to do it.
Hmm.
So this work is like, I love it so much because it's so empowering. Like, it gives you, like, the tools to do it on your own, which is what should be happening in the first place. It's when people do this work on their own that they can discover themselves. They can go inward and, like, really, like, find out who they are. With the muscle testing for me is so profound because, like, it establishes that connection.
Hmm.
So many of us have cut off. As soon as we're born, we start listening to our parents, and then we get into our teenage years, and we start listening to our friends, and then we go to work. We have coworkers, and now most of us walk around with a mobile phone, and like that's the first thing. That's the first voice that we listen to. The first place that we go, we have any question whatsoever. And we stopped listening to our own inner voice like decades ago. We just cut that connection. And muscle testing, self muscle testing reestablishes that connection. And it takes a while for you to get it. It took me like a month before I was like actually really comfortable with like a yes and no answer. Um, but once that's established, then like you can talk to yourself, you can talk to your subconscious, and you can go within and find the answers, and you can heal. And like it's just that's the amazing part. So yeah, with Amo Form, we heal we find the emotions that you've attached to abundance, to money, to Amo Form. We remove the emotions that you attach to addiction, whether it be food or alcohol or drugs or whatever. Movement for pain. And I've been through all of this.
Hmm.
That's why I can. I'm guiding other people to do it now. I mean, through the accidents that I was in. I mean, the first
Yeah.
car accident, I broke both my femurs. I crushed my knee. I
Oh.
broke my
Oh.
ankles. I broke elbows. I like cracked ribs. I cracked my skull open. I had internal bleeding. Like, I woke up with like tubes coming out of every
Oh.
orifice in my body. I was in intensive care for weeks. Like, I've been spent, majority, I've cycled a lot, right? But like my lower body has been wrecked. And it wasn't until recently that I'm like really just starting to heal, because I would self-sabotage by re-injuring myself. I haven't
Hmm.
gotten injured in years now. And so yeah, so that's all part of the program that I put together.
Well, I just absolutely love the fact that you don't heal people.
No, no, no.
You teach them how to heal themselves.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
because that's so empowering. And that's one of the things I do as a recovering physical therapist. You know, I
Mm,
never fixed people. It was like, I will teach you how to fix yourself.
yeah,
And
exactly.
the emphasis, and you put it so, you articulated it so beautifully, and with great detail about, it's all self-awareness,
Mm.
but you said in a way that really covers a lot of different components of it and a lot of different aspects of it. So it's absolutely beautiful. So thank you
Yeah,
for
and the
that.
thing is, like, that self-awareness, it doesn't come, it cannot come until you find the emotions that are clouding that self-awareness. Like, you've got all these emotions that are keeping you from being self-aware because, because of the way you reacted to this, or the way that you reacted to that, and the emotion that you embodied based on those reactions. Those emotions are keeping you, they're like, as you go through this work, it's like, there's like little bubbles, and we're finding these bubbles, and each one you pop is like boom, boom. And once you pop and you see the things that you were thinking, the things that you're doing, that you were saying, the things that you were feeling, as you go through your day-to-day life, because most of us go through life, and we're in routine, we're asleep. And that is the dimension, or the zone of the subconscious. Subconscious wants us asleep. It wants us on the couch eating Cheetos and like not, just so it can be in control, right? So if we're on the couch and we're just and we're zoned out, or zoned out through our routine, it doesn't have to be sitting on the couch lazy. A lot of us like stay in the zone of subconscious by staying busy, right? By constantly staying busy, we're never focusing on what needs to be done, right? The subconscious keeps us busy. So once you start removing those emotions that are controlling everything, then you see the things that you're doing that are self-sabotaging, right? And the self-sabotage comes like, when we're not aware of it. And so
I
there's so
love,
many things small things we think, say, do, that we're not even aware of, that are just wrecking our lives, that are just like, pushing us down the path of the path that the subconscious has got us, stuck on.
and they keep adding up. So I love the way that you were talking about the layers, and the layers that you have to not get through, and popping that bubble and getting through all of that bubble wrap, basically.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I,
I like
I'm
that bubble wrap.
I know that's what I thought of, because poking those things. But I'm something called a Feldenkrais practitioner. I don't know if you've ever heard of Feldenkrais, but we do basically teaching self-awareness through movement.
Right.
And I wrote a blog post about it, because when I went into the training, I'm so skeptical, and I was even skeptical of that. It's like, well, okay, well, I'm going to try it. I can always quit, if I don't like it, if it's too woo-woo. And I just fell in
That's
love
a
with
good
it.
attitude, though, to try it.
Well, yeah, but I can always, I'm always looking for an exit. I always know that there's an exit route.
Yeah, but I mean, at least you take the first step. That's good.
There you go. I do. I could probably have a better mindset going in, or a little bit more positive, but it's like I can always quit if I have to or I want to. But I wrote a blog post about it, a few years after I finished my training, and I called it was like peeling an artichoke. Because if you've ever peeled an artichoke, the outer layers they're very thick, and they're so hard and rigid, and they've got those pointy, pokey ends on it and stuff. And so you start peeling that artichoke, and then the next layer is a little bit softer and a little bit softer and a little bit softer, until finally you get to the center, which is the heart.
Right.
And it's just like, I think I figured it out, or at least a little piece of it.
It's funny how those moments of they hit us, right? And it's when we're doing something, not mundane, but something where we're appreciating,
Right.
something else, right? And that appreciation for, peeling the artichoke and just being, in the moment is like really. And that goes back to what we were saying about meditation, right? It doesn't have to be like, sitting there. Like, you were meditating as you were peeling that artichoke, and you had this boom, profound, explanation of, the whole process, and you were able to share that with others. So that's awesome.
Well, it's really funny, because it did resonate. I got a lot of feedback from a lot of colleagues who are Feldenkrais practitioners from basically all over the country, and even, internationally. So I thought that was pretty cool. So
Nice.
So Bo, where can people find you?
The best place is on the website, amoniclear.com. And then also check out, I guess, the YouTube channel. But yeah, the
Mhm.
website's the best place.
Okay, and I'm going to include all of your links in the show notes, including your LinkedIn and
Thank you so
your
much.
website and all that stuff, so people can find you. Do you have any last like final pearls of wisdom that you want to just drop on the audience before we wrap up?
Um, think any pearls of wisdom. Just
You've already given us plenty, believe me.
I think just don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid to go inside, to go within. I think a lot of us, like continue what we were talking about earlier, just like people, we busy ourselves, and it's not our fault, right? I mean, this is subconscious control,
Mhm.
right? But don't be afraid to dig deep, and because that's where the answers are. There was another cartoon that I saw like years ago, and it was like there's something about self-awareness, and it was like an angel. He was talking to God, or whatever, this supreme being or whatever you want to call it. And they were asking something about self-awareness, and he was like, where should we hide it? And should we hide it on the top of the highest mountain? God was like, no. And should we hide it at the bottom of the deepest ocean? God was like, no. It's like, where should we hide it? He's like, I'll put it where no one ever where no one will ever look, and to put it inside of themselves.
Wow, I love that. That's awesome. And it's true.
Yeah,
Sometimes we're just always looking outside of ourselves, and the answer is always deep inside.
exactly.
So, Bo, thank you so much for being on the show. I have
Thank you so much, Cheryl.
absolutely loved having you on the show. I love talking to you. It's been absolutely fascinating. And thank you for sharing your story, and congratulations with everything that you've accomplished, including that bicycling across the United States.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your platform with me and helping me spread the Amo Ni message. I'm so grateful. So I really, really appreciate it. Best of
You
luck
are
to you and all
welcome.
you're doing.
Oh, you are welcome. It's just been an absolute pleasure. And everybody, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you as well. And do check out Bo's website. Obviously, he is a very fascinating person, and he has an awful lot to offer. So if you are struggling, you might want to give him a call, connect with him, and see how he can help you out. And remember that you are your own expert, and you have the power to heal yourself. Don't look for external forces to do it for you, but if you hire a healing guide who can walk you through it, then healing is just a few steps away. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.